implemented by getting a quick market research or market survey, and if it is found that all parties have quoted extremely high price, then the tender may be cancelled and a fresh tender may be notified. The last point, whenever a subordinate is authorized for spending, it has to be ensured that proper bills or vouchers are submitted. Then we move on to a centrally sponsored schemes, which has a very close linkage with paper 2. Here the aspirants have to make a choice. If they prepare thoroughly the centrally sponsored scheme in this particular paper, they need not reinvent the wheel in paper 2. So here we are trying to map paper 4 to paper 2. Centrally sponsored schemes. There has been a long-standing complaint of states that central ministries formulate the schemes with the same all-India pattern without allowing for regional or state variations. The schemes are often cast into predetermined format, which allows little scope for flexibility. This in turn impacts program design. They also act as a drag on program implementation and result in low fund utilization. The 12th plan has made proposals to resolve these problems. It recognizes that over a period of several plans, the number of centrally sponsored schemes has been growing. Large funds are being transferred to states under these schemes. In view of the large diversity of physical and economic infrastructure in the states, their potential for development and investment requirements, the schemes need to provide greater flexibility in their design. Based on the report of the B.K. Chaturvedi Committee, Planning Commission has proposed following changes in the centrally sponsored scheme. The first one, the physical and financial norms for the schemes may be varied depending on the requirements of the state. A mechanism for developing flexibility in such norms as against the normal CSS prescription has been suggested. This should take care of large variation often requested by northeast states or of states like Kerala, Rajasthan, Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh, which have special needs. Second, all CSS funds must have 20% flexi funds, that is 10% of the flagship schemes. This should be utilized by the states to prepare schemes which are specially suited for the requirements of the state. Each flagship program provides a flexible pool of financial resources to be used to facilitate and incentivize innovative practices that blaze a trail for others to follow during the 12th plan period. Now, under centrally sponsored schemes, we are going to take up a few flagship programs. The first one is Integrated Child Development Scheme. This scheme was launched in the year 1975 as a nationwide program for overall development of children below 6 years and of expectant and nursing mothers. It offers 6 services. First, supplementary feeding. Second, immunization. Third, preschool education. Fourth, health checkups. Fifth, referral services. Sixth, health and nutrition education for its beneficiaries. Who are the beneficiaries of this scheme? First is children below 6 years of age, and second, expectant and nursing mothers. What is the funding pattern of this scheme? As it is a CSS scheme, 100% financial assistance to state and union territories. Then we discuss the second flagship program, which is known as Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan. It was launched in the year 2009. The implementation of the scheme commenced from 2009 to 2010. It is envisaged to achieve an enrollment rate of 75% from 52.5% in 2005. Objective of this particular scheme is to first enhance universal access to secondary education and improve quality of education. Then, what is the funding pattern of this scheme? Here, the central share is released to the implementing agency directly. I am just repeating it. The central share is released to the implementing agency directly. So this is a unique one. Third, we take up another scheme which is known as STEP. STEP is an acronym for Support to Training and Employment Program for Women. This has started way back in 1986. This scheme aims to provide the skills that give employability to women. Secondly, to hone their competencies that enable women to become self-employed or entrepreneurs. Third, this scheme is intended to benefit women who are in the age group of 16 years and above across the country. What is the funding pattern of this scheme? The funding pattern is grant under the scheme is given to an institution or organization directly, including NGOs, and not the state or union territories. 90% is being given by Government of India and remaining 10% by implementing agency from assistance. Finally, we take up another flagship program which is a very popular one, Beti Bachao Beti Padhao scheme. This is a welfare initiative for women. It was launched in 2015 to address the issue of decline in CSR, which is child sex ratio, in 100 gender critical districts, which has been extended to 61 more districts. The objectives of this program is to prevent gender-based active sex selection elimination. Secondly, to ensure survival and protection of the girl child, and also ensure education of the girl child. This scheme is a bit unique because it has interventions of 3 ministries, which is known as multi-sectoral interventions. The ministries who are participating in this particular scheme are Ministry of Women and Child Development, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and Ministry of Human Resource Development. Now we move on to the funding pattern of this scheme. This is sponsored by the center, funded through Nirbhaya Fund. Secondly, central government will provide 100% financial assistance to the state government and UT, that is Union Territory Administrations. This fund is being socially audited, and social audit is done by civil society groups. Then we move on to another topic, which is approval, cost norms and staff. This is very critical for any government scheme. It has been observed that financial approval of a scheme gets delayed. In any government systems, not only new schemes, but also continuing schemes need approval. Even for ongoing schemes, financial sanctions, authorization of expenditure, and transfer of funds take time. After receiving approval, implementing agencies have to follow prescribed procedures such as inviting tenders for procurement, for incurring expenditure. This takes time, and many departments are still unwilling to fully delegate powers to the implementing levels. Government programs are funded based on cost norms. Where government staff costs are concerned, there are clear yardsticks like salary structures. Situation has become complex and challenging due to systems of part-time employees and outsourcing. In many schemes like midday meals, costs are estimated on per unit or per head basis. A major difficulty encountered in social sector schemes arises from inadequate staff and lack of project planning and management skills. Here we are focusing on decentralized planning and needs of small scale projects in rural areas. There is an urgent need to scale up training and capacity building of staff and community leaders for decentralized planning. Then we move on to self-help group. This particular topic maps to General Studies paper 2. Every year there is a question on SHG. Please remember. In short, self-help group is SHG. What is SHG? SHG are voluntary small group structures for mutual aid and the accomplishment of a special purpose. The self-help groups initiative was adopted by India several decades ago in order to alleviate poverty and improve women's ability to achieve rights and well-being. At the beginning, SHG was an initiative undertook by NGOs, but later on, due to its success in improving living standards and delivering public goods and services, Indian states engaged in facilitating access to financial resources. The SHG is basically a platform for women empowerment. SHG have been now recognized as an effective strategy for empowerment of women, especially in the rural areas, as they strive to bring together women from all walks of life so that they create a sustainable livelihood for them. SHGs also work on other variety of issues such as health, agriculture, forestry, nutrition, and income generation activities. The overall empowerment woman is fundamentally dependent on economic empowerment. Therefore, NGOs are involved in the following activities to empower women. First, help to mobilize human resources for planning and implementing projects that have profound impact on women empowerment. Second, supplement the effort taken by the government for the empowerment of women. Third, represent and articulate the problems faced by the rural women by the concerned officials and carry out social impact assessment of the policies that affect women. Educate and create awareness among women, especially rural women. Then promote the use of information and communication technology for empowerment of women. Finally, instill and develop leadership qualities among women and ensure that they participate in their empowerment process. Finally, we move to the question and case study. First, we will take up the question which has appeared in 2019, 10 marks. I am just reading the question. The question is, effective utilization of public funds is crucial to meet developmental goals. Critically examine the reasons for underutilization and misutilization of public funds and their implications. This is question 2A, which has appeared in 2019. I will just give some pointers. The first part can be answered easily because I have discussed everything during my course of discussion, during the course of my lecture. Here I will take up the second part. One is underutilization of public funds and second is misutilization of public funds. So you need to understand what you mean by underutilization of public funds. Here, underutilization of public funds means inability to use the allocated funds under various heads of the schemes. Underutilization leads to savings and low utilization of funds. What do you mean by misutilization? Misutilization of public funds includes expenditures that are made without the approval of competent authority under various heads. It leads to diversion of funds, excess spending, and improper record keeping amounting to fraud. Now I would refer to question number 7, 2020, section B, which is a case study. I will discuss the first part and give some hints on the second part. First part, if you read the question carefully, ethical issues involved in reappropriation of funds from a welfare project to the developmental project. Mark the word reappropriation. Again I am repeating it. ethical issues involved in reappropriation of funds from a welfare project to the developmental projects. First, you need to understand what do you mean by reappropriation. Reappropriation of funds means the transfer of funds by a competent authority from one head or unit to another unit or head in the same department of the ministry. Here, reappropriation of funds from one ministry to the other ministry is not per rule according to GFR, that is General Financial Rules. Hence, it is not ethical also. If you read the case study carefully, the money which has been allocated for NHS has to transfer to development projects, which is not feasible, it is not as per rule, and it is not following the norms as given in GFR. Hence, it is not ethical. Secondly, there is a question like, is resigning a worthy option? Resignation of a civil servant is not the panacea. He has to take up the challenges and resolve the problem given to him within the rules, and it should be as per the rules. Before I sign off, please stay tuned for my next videos. Please share the video with your friends and subscribe in large numbers. We really appreciate your encouragement and constructive suggestions.